there's an Indian word called jugaad, right? And jugaad means doing whatever to make stuff happen. So in India, you find channels of growth that you might never find anywhere else. So for example, there's a large gig economy in India, right? And so many of these payment apps have used gig workers to actually physically visit the merchants and get stuff done there.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started.
20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today we are with Shaival Desai, the Chief Growth Officer of Petpooja. Shaival is the Chief Growth Officer of Petpooja, a next-generation restaurant management platform offering state-of-the-art point-of-sale software to manage restaurant billing, inventory, online orders, menu, and customers. Fondly known as the Google of Petpooja by his colleagues, Shaival oversees the company's marketing, advanced products, in-house sales, and training. Along with his team of professionals, he also plays an instrumental role in building Petpooja's advanced products, such as Voice Ordering KIOSK, order serving robot, waiter calling devices, etc. Aside from these core responsibilities, Shaival drives SaaS implementation at the company to streamline the processes for the other teams. Thank you for joining me today from India, correct?
That's right.
Amazing. You're the Chief Growth Officer of Petpooja, India's #1 restaurant management software. I'm excited to hear all about that. It sounds like, I mentioned right before we started, it sounds like you've had quite an incredible journey over the last few months as the Chief Growth Officer. Previously, several vice president roles in agriculture before that, and different experiences. Tell me just a little bit about Petpooja, and then I'd like to dive back into your own journey and see how everything combines together.
Okay, perfect. So Petpooja is India's largest restaurant management platform. We provide a SaaS platform to F&B businesses with a primary focus on small and medium businesses. So while we have enterprise clients, our focus has and will always be the small businesses, right? And our software caters to, so today we have around 45,000 restaurants that use our platform. And so we handle everything. I mean, our platform handles everything from billing to inventory to integration with the likes of Zomato, Swiggy, and all of that. So it's an all-in-one software that you need at your restaurant, essentially.
Incredible. So tell me a little bit about sort of the world before Petpooja and the world after, in terms of the Indian landscape, these 45,000 restaurants. What were they doing before and what are they doing now?
So India, even today, right, even at 45,000 restaurants, is a blue ocean market. I mean, no one really knows the real number, which is funny, but India has, from our best estimates, anything between 20 to 40 lakh restaurants, right?
Wow.
And most of them, even before Petpooja and even today, a large majority are still using pen and paper to jot out orders. And some of them are not even jotting them down, right? A customer would just call and say, hey, I want one of this date, and they would dish it out. So, I mean, I think we've been successful in converting a lot of those guys, as well as, yes, there did exist a lot of software before Petpooja also. But what you got to understand is there has been a proliferation of B2C apps in India, right? And these apps interact with restaurants. So for example, there is food delivery, there's table reservation, there's payments, right? And restaurants cannot exist in silos. They have to, the software at restaurants need to interact with these apps, which wasn't possible with the apps of yesteryear. And I think Petpooja really came in and changed that, which is why we saw massive adoption.
So as Chief Growth Officer, tell me a little bit about growth in the Indian landscape and specifically through the lens of Petpooja. What is even growth? What do you even define growth as at that point?
So it's interesting. Actually, I lead 4 different teams here, and I see growth is very broadly defined. So I lead a lot of new initiatives where we've launched a new marketing product for restaurants. I lead that completely. I also handle marketing and telesales. So I took up telesales because I was already taking care of marketing, and in marketing, unless you can close a loop, you go from lead to which ones receive, have actually paid for the product, and then funnel that data back into the marketing channels. You don't really know what's happening. So I've been leading multiple roles here.
Wow. And so thinking about growth, I mean, what are kind of sort of, I guess, KPIs or things that you measure as you're growing? Is it particularly number of restaurants that are onboarding onto the platform?
Correct. So basically a couple of things. First is obviously the awareness, the top of the funnel awareness that restaurants should know a platform like this exists. Second is having Petpooja into the consideration funnel. So they should know that within the software that exists, Petpooja is providing the best services and the best platform. And third might work also. And so also involves having them use more of the product, right? So while this product is very deep in terms of the features available, what we have seen that not more than 10% of users, so 90% of the users don't use more than 20% of the product, right? And my aim is to get this number up. So we have gotten inventory usage up from give or take 10% 3 years back to around 55% today. And I want to make sure that each module we provide is used because the customer has already paid for it. See, they pay for the platform as a whole, right? And it's my job to ensure that they can extract the maximum value out of it.
Right. And so you're talking about, the platform that they're paying for, it has, invoices, different API considerations that you're providing different services. And what you're saying is a part of the growth strategy is not just external growth to new customers, but how do you get internal customers to also really make use of the entire platform?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Why is that so critical? Because what you're saying is, they're already paying for the product. Why is it not enough that they have one or two features that they're interested in? Why is it important for you that they leverage the remainder of the offering that Petpooja has to offer?
So honestly, we feel that, I started working in this sector because I genuinely like working with small businesses, right? And we feel that the more modules they use, the more efficiency they can draw out of their business, right? Today, most of these small businesses are incredibly inefficient, right? There are a lot of pilferages. There's a lot of food wastage. There's a lot of theft as well. 3 years back, it was extremely high. Now I think it's come down. But so we need to make sure that these businesses can extract maximum value out of it so that they can, actually increase their margin. Especially with the aggregators like Zomato and Swiggy coming into play, their margins have been significantly hit, right? It's gone from mid double digits to mid to high single digits, right? And so we really want that they should make good money. And I think that's a large part of why we do what we do.
Right. Why do you do what you do? I mean, you yourself, you tell me a little bit about your own journey coming into Petpooja.
Okay, sure. So I'm actually a mechanical engineer from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I completed my course, came back to India. I took up agriculture, right? So I grew roughly 400 tons of cucumbers and roughly 100 tons of bell peppers. Very interesting journey there. I think that market also is completely inefficient, but I think I got to a decent stage. I realized that at 22, I think agriculture was slightly slow, right? So in tech, you can put more effort into it and get it done, but a plant is going to take the time it takes to grow. You can't do anything about it, right? So I realized that it was a slightly slower business than I wanted to be in. And then parallelly, I completed 2 levels of the financial analyst, CFA, right? And I actually went to intern for a VC fund. At the VC fund, I realized that so while I interacted with a ton of startups, I felt like I wanted to be seated on the other side of the table, right? I actually wanted to get my hands dirty and build a business. And which is when I actually joined Petpooja. And the calling was essentially working with these small businesses, right? So their experiences in India, I mean, when you work with an enterprise, you're dealing with an organization. It's not a face, right? But with SMBs, you are actually impacting real people, and some of them to a significant extent. So, for example, right, what do you think can be the impact of a software? Now, I was talking to a very interesting a pub in Mumbai, right? He's the owner of a pub who in Mumbai, and he gave a very interesting example of how Petpooja helped the staff. So, before Petpooja hits his staff, the pub would close at around 1. His staff would take 1 to 1.5 hours to finish the reconciliation of the invoices with each of the kitchen order tokens. If it went longer than that, so 30% of the time they would miss their trains. They couldn't go back home. They had to sleep in the restaurant and start work at 8. With Petpooja, it gets done in half an hour and they get to go home every day. Right. So you can actually see the real impact, on the people, on the blue collar workers that it's creating. And I think I genuinely feel for them. And that actually motivates me to a large extent.
And so tell me a little bit about you're mentioning a lot about the discovery process of the impact your product is having on customers. What kind of discovery process do you go through as you figure out the right products to build, the right products for different organizations, how you go to different small businesses and you make sure that they understand the way that your offering can have such a significant impact like the one that you just mentioned?
I mean, most of it involves talking to customers, right? And you talk to these customers, and a lot of times they will narrate the problem in a certain way, but you got to learn to read in between the line, I think. And I think that's true for most things in India, right? You got to listen to their problems and what they are not really saying, right? And figure out that what is going to have what feature or what product is going to have the maximum impact today. So, for example, the new product that we've launched is sort of a Canva for F&B. But while I would call Canva a tool with creatives, so with the templates ready, the product that we have, Tweeto, is more of a template library with certain customization tools, right? And it's actually talking about it looks like subtle different, but it's in fact large because most of the audience doesn't know how to use these tools like Canva, right? So we have ready-made templates for them to just pick up, edit the text and publish, right? So we've been thinking about how do we help with marketing for quite a long time. And I think now is when we finally discover that, hey, this is the way we wanted to help them, achieve their marketing goals as well.
Right. And so tell me just a little bit about your own day-to-day within Petpooja. You're with so many different customers, so many different use cases. How do you know how to spend your time? How do you differentiate between sort of prioritization and what's important and what's less important?
To be very honest in figuring it out, but I think 30% of my time is putting out fires. 20% is strategic and 50% is operational, right? So I think once I reach office, I figure out what's been burning, where I need to put out the fires, and then I think I'd go and think about what are the strategic initiatives that I want to take, right? And every day, I mean, see, India is a kind of there's an Indian word called jugaad, right? And jugaad means doing whatever to make stuff happen. So in India, you find channels of growth that you might never find anywhere else. So for example, there's a large gig economy in India, right? And so many of these payment apps have used gig workers to actually physically visit the merchants and get stuff done there, right? And this kind of channel doesn't exist. So in most of, obviously we have traditional salespeople also. But if you want to reach the smallest of villages and towns where it might not be feasible to hire a full-time guy, in India, you have an option of hiring gig workers and pay them for app install or per merchant onboarded, right? So there are very interesting channels that keep coming up, which are specific to India. So it's always, figuring out which one works. So for example, Facebook or Google ads, obviously it works in India, but the thing is, we have so many users who click on an ad, fill out the form, and don't really want the product or don't even know what the product is, right? And this doesn't happen in most of the world. So and it might so happen that the gig workers might be a better channel than direct digital marketing. So it's always figuring out that balance, right? And I think that's where a large part of the day also goes.
Interesting. Take me back a little bit to your own upbringing, kind of, the type of impact that you want to have, as a tech executive, as a tech leader, because obviously in your role, you're impacting a lot of people. Where does this originate from?
So, I mean, both my grandfather was a politician. He's worked at the grassroots level. He was a farmer before he became a politician, and he has had tremendous impact on the state that I live in. It's the western state of Gujarat, which is where Prime Minister Modi is from. Both my parents are doctors. So I think through both of their journeys, I think I've always wanted to have a positive impact on our society, be it through tech, be it otherwise, right? And I think that actually taught me that, hey, this is while I want to, I want to succeed in the business that I'm doing, I also want the business to have a real impact on on other businesses that use the platform. I think that's where it has come from.
Interesting. And so going back to sort of India today, the vision of Petpooja, if we're going down the line, what is sort of the vision of the company and where do you see it heading?
So we see India as being the de facto platform for SMBs globally. So, we have a very clearly charted out journey in terms of how we want to expand from Indian F&Bs to global F&Bs. And we're releasing a couple of products that will actually take us horizontal. So I don't mean all SMBs, but rather I would say a global product for retail SMB, retail, small and medium businesses. It could be food retail, it could be clothing retail, it could be grocery retail, right? But we have a clear roadmap to be the default SMB retail platform for the world.
And global SMB retail for the world. And so what does it take to then expand outside of India in that case?
I think, we already have expanded outside of India. We are already present in the UAE and South African market. We just started there. I think it's been 5 or 6 odd months, right? But I think even over there is, we are seeing the market is humongous and there is very good acceptance of Indian tech products. So, and obviously, you always have to consider pricing. See, we are extremely competitive in our price, especially when you compare it to products from Western countries and providing similar functionality. So we are going to be able to win out there, and that's what we are seeing in the market.
Interesting. Is there any resistance from the market? Until now, it just sounds like a fairy tale, right? Is there any resistance from small businesses? Any of them saying, no, we want to stay the way we are. We're not interested in these processes.
So there are two challenges in this industry as a whole, right? Of course, the first one you mentioned is, yes, there are a lot of people who say we are okay with pen and paper, right? And that's fine. We have seen the wave of digitization post-COVID, wherein, literally the inquiries that we're generating went up 2x, right? But another problem with SMBs is churn, right? SMBs, actually businesses die. And in SMBs, in the food and beverage small business segment that we're in, we see up to 30% of customers die every year. So the businesses die, right? And so we have to, get more business from the merchants that are on our platform. And second, keep on acquiring new merchants, right? I think over time, it's getting slightly easier because, we are already there covering a large portion, covering a decent size of the market. So there's already a good referral market. So there's a lot of inbound leads, but yes, the churn is always going to be a challenge.
Right. And that's interesting. And so do you see the consumer behavior shifting at all over these last several years as you've been entering the market and you've been seeing, you're not alone. There's a whole digitization happening right now. Do you see the conversations shifting and anything happening around, anything interesting happening that you've observed shift over the last few years?
So very interestingly, I was just talking to someone about this, right? And we've been going to F&B conferences since I've been at the company, I've been attending them, right? And up to 2 years back, they were about, they would call in restaurateurs from large chains and discuss operations and supply chain and whatnot, right? And since the past 2 years, 30% of the conversation has been dedicated to technology. And that's a huge shift. That just shows how interested F&Bs are in adopting technology and how large of a conversation it's becoming for them, right? And just to put numbers in context, right? The top in a Fortune 1000, they spend roughly 5% of their revenue on technology. For developed market SMBs, that number is close to 2%. So they spend 2% of their revenue on technology. In India, that number is below 0.1%.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a huge headroom even on technology spend if you look at holistic numbers. And bear in mind that you're talking, even the revenues are at 10, and out of that, they're spending 0.1, 0.2%. Right. So it's a very small number today, and there's a tremendous headroom to grow. They're just waking up today to the advantages of digitization and how much efficiency it can bring in, right? Say, if you reduce inventory cost by 15 to 20%, which is not difficult to digitization, directly you're impacting your net margins by 3 or 4%, right? And which is a huge number, right? When you when you say that, okay, today my margin is, say, net margin is 9 to 10%. And I'm taking it to 13 or 14, you're seeing like a 30 to 40% increase in the net margin, in the net profit that the person is taking home.
Incredible. Well, I have 10 more questions that off the top of my head right now that I would want to ask you, but I have to stay true to the format of the show. And Shaival, I really want to thank you for coming here and sharing with me a little bit about your own personal passion for what you're doing, the impact that you're having with Petpooja, some of the different challenges or the different opportunities that you're presenting here, and a little bit about what's happening in the Indian landscape. So I really appreciate you coming here, and best of luck. Continue growing Petpooja to be the market leader, and I look forward to cheering from the side.
Thank you so much, Michael. Really, I had actually enjoyed the conversation. So loved being here. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Shaival.